So last week you got a template like so, and we started working on the top cover of a heart-shaped box that we were going to build. And so this week I'm going to let you finish up the coloring and the drawing part, and then right now I'm going to show you how to put it together. Okay? So let me get over to this piece here. When we go to cut this out, all right, you have to be careful making sure that you are cutting first on the outer edges of your line. So we're cutting all over here. If this doesn't have a groove on here, you can probably go just a little thin line right up, so keep them the same size, or you can go right off the edge of the page if that's the case. All right, should be a line there. I think the templates that I printed out are a little different than this one. So you're going to cut in between these tabs. There's a couple spaces that I want to talk about right now. So here's mine that I've cut out. All right, and the important part that we're going to want to cut is we're going to want to cut, there's 4 spaces just like this where the tab is connected right in here. So you want to cut and stop at each one of these corners like so. That way, you can see how that goes all the way to that corner. You want to cut to each one of these so that it bends a little bit better. All right. Once we've got it all cut out, what we're going to do is, if you have a piece of cardstock, then we are going to score along the edges. If you have the paper version, maybe computer paper, you're not going to want to use this technique because it will end up ripping the paper. You could probably just fold on those lines and you'll be just fine. All right. So with a ruler and my scissors, I've opened up my scissors so that I can deal with one of the blades. I'm not putting my fingers in between the scissors. I'm kind of holding it steady, maybe putting a little pressure on this blade so that it doesn't move too much. But really, once it's open, we're just going to lightly make some marks. So I'm going to start over here on the right, and I have this nice long mark down here. And what I want to do is I'm going to line up my ruler with that mark, and then very lightly, just pushing. You can hear it scraping against the paper. It's making just a little bit of a score line so that it'll be easier to fold. All right. And then at the very bottom, there'll be a tab that I want to lightly. So make sure your ruler is up, or your scissors are up against your ruler, and only score at once. Don't keep going back and forth. You will rip the paper. So I only did one line. Plus, if you have multiple score lines, it could be a little harder to fold. So I've scored on this side. I'm going to rotate it around so it's just a little easier to deal with. Since I'm a righty, if you're a lefty, you'd be working on the other side and rotating it around to the other side. So again, I've got my ruler lined up. I'm going to score along the edge, and then I'm going to go to the tab down here at the bottom and do the same. So score along there. All right. And now what I can do is I can start to make my folds. So you can see right there, that's where my score line was. If that was any deeper, that was going to end up ripping off. So if it does rip off, you may have to tape them together so that we can kind of hold them together. But what I want to do is I'm just going to kind of flip this over, and I'm just going to kind of get a good fold in. And you don't have to be too aggressive with it. I folded this one this way. I'm going to fold these 3 little tabs over, making sure each one of them has a little bend in them, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now, when we go to put this together, you could tape this together. I did a practice drawing. Oops, see, I missed one of those cuts. So I have to go in here, and I have to make that cut to the corner. So if it doesn't fold easy, more than likely you didn't make the cut in the right spot or all the way through. So I folded those. I've got a longer one right here, and then I've got my end piece right there. So you want to go and make a nice fold on all of these spaces. All right. If you miss them, you can always go back and get those folds in. So these will go and bend around the edges like so. And now we got to attach it. Like I said, you could tape this. I don't think taping bonds as well, but it still is kind of quick and it works. You could use stick glue. It will go it'll take a little bit longer, but it will still work. For me, I'm going to use liquid glue, and I'm going to start with these longer tabs right here. So I could put glue on the tab, or I could put glue along the edge here, whatever way I choose. I do not need very much glue. I put a light little bead of glue on there, and I am going to set that in there so that it is right along my edge, and from the inside push a little bit. So if you have glue that oozes out, make sure you dry it up off your table or it will stick to your design, and then it will start to mess with that design, and if there's marker on here, it will start to blur that marker out. So what I want to do is make sure that this stuff is settled. I'm going to leave it flat now that I know that it's lined up pretty good along that edge, and I am going to just kind of smooth it out until it dries. It doesn't take too long to hold it, about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. All right. I'm going to do the same on the other side here. Give it a little bit of glue again, and I'm not going right on the edge. I'm kind of going off the edge just a little bit. Again, you don't need too much, but if I go off the edge and I've got too much, when it smushes out, it will hopefully not go all the way to that edge point. All right, so I'm going to do the same on this side. Turn that paper so that you can see it, whatever's easiest for you. All right, I think I got a good edge here. I'm going to run my finger along to get it to dry. Again, if the inside doesn't look too pretty, I don't know whether you can see that. There's a couple smudge marks in there. That's okay. Outside, that's a problem. We don't want to smear our design along here. So getting a pretty good edge going here. I'm going to seal up the bottom. I've got a little bit of a tab right there. I'm just going to put a little glue on the tab or on the inside, whatever you choose. I'm going to line them up. Looks like I got a little bit of an overhang here, like one side was a little bit bigger, or maybe my score lines were a little off. I can trim that once it's dry, but I want to get it in first and make sure everything's nice and sealed in. So I'm kind of holding this. You don't want to do a lot of pushing on the outside because that'll mess with your design. So if I can get this at a place where I can leave this kind of flat and kind of hold down from the inside, that'll be a lot better. And just watch the glue if it gets on your table. All right. So I got a good edge right along here. I may have to trim that up. We'll see how that goes. There's the bottom. Now I'm going to start working on the top. All right. So again, I can run a little bit of glue along the edge here. Each one of these tabs is going to be for a side. So first tab, second tab, third tab. And I can kind of work them all together, or I can work one at a time. With these, all together is not bad because I can put 3 fingers in here. I want to look over the edge, so while it is still wet, this is the advantage of glue. If it was tape, you'd have to peel it up. All right, so there. Get my head out of the way, and I am trying to get that lined up with my edge marks the best I can. So we've got something that's got a geometric shape to it, and we're placing a rounded shape next to it. So there will be some corners sticking out. But at least here I can hold this from the inside. Like I said, I don't want to do a whole lot of rubbing on the outside here, just because I don't want to mess with my design too much. If this was all colored with marker, then there'd be some smearing of the marker if I'm not careful. So I've got a little tab right here on the inside. I'm going to save that for the end. And I'm going to get these 3 to line up next. So, like I said, if you wanted to, you can put the glue on the tab areas, or you can put them on the flat area. Just got to make sure that they bend on the inside, and then line them up and hold them down. Once you get them in place, it's not too bad. It's making sure, making sure I got them in the right area before they set too quick. Like I said, with tape, you just have to peel the tape up and put a new piece on. I don't know if you can see that very well. I got a little bit of a corner right there. That's not that big a deal. I can trim that off or take a marker or a colored pencil and just blend in the color with it. But I got a little glue on the table, so I'm trying to keep that from being wet on the table. And I've got one more piece here. This tab's got to come back around, and it's going to get glued at the point. Put a little light bead of glue in there. Line it up. Hold it closed. I could tell I got too much glue on this one because I can feel it oozing out onto my finger. So I got to be careful not to get that on my design. But with the cardstock, it sticks pretty quick. And then you just got to make sure you smooth it out so that you can get your nice design in here. So this one's moving a little bit. I got to make sure I hold that steady so that that lines up fairly straight. So we got two pieces, all right? And you can see right here, there's a little bit of an overhang. So if I don't like that, I can always trim it to make it a little flusher with, is flusher a word? I think I just made up a word. Get it flush with the corner, so I just trimmed off just a little bit, all right? And that'll keep it a little smoother. And then the back, so you shouldn't have gotten a back piece like this. You're going to cut it out just the same. You're going to glue it the same, and that back piece will have a simpler design on it. Hopefully your name, hopefully the year, and then those pieces will fit together one on top of another. All right? Take your time with them. They should hold pretty well. All right? And then you can put a nice little note in there. You can put some candy, whatever you'd like to go with your heart-shaped box. All right? Email me if you got questions. Like I said, if you have the paper version, it'll be a little flimsier, but still should work. And you could tape. Stick glue would work well with the paper version. But even if you use just a little bit of liquid glue, it'll work out just fine. All right? Take your time. Love to see some pictures of some finished ones. And then next week, we are going to start something new. So let me know if you got questions, and I'll see you guys next week.